Hello, good morning everyone. Good morning, sir. We are the group 7, and today's morning we're going to discuss about the stages of moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg. And before that, let me introduce ourselves. I am Clint Anthony Siabao and my partner is Manuel Tagarda.
And now, let's talk about Lawrence Kohlberg. Lawrence Kohlberg was born October 25, 1927. He died on January 17, 1987. He is an American psychologist and educator who is well recognized for his moral development hypothesis. He is also a psychologist who used education, anthropology, and philosophy to inform his research on moral judgment and behavior development. What is moral development? So, moral development refers to a process whereby people form progressive sense of what is right and wrong, proper and improper. Also, moral development is an aspect of person overall development that follows over the course of a lifetime. Moral development also is a growth, and like all growth, it takes place according to the predetermined sequence. Kohlberg's theory of moral development. This theory is stage theory. In other words, everyone goes through the stages sequentially without skipping any stage. It assesses moral reasoning by posing hypothetical moral dilemmas, examining the reason behind people's answers. It also proposed three types of moral thinking: the pre-conventional, conventional, and the post-conventional. How did Colbert come up with the theory of moral development? He got all of his ideas from the study he did with the very young children as his subject. He discovered that children are faced with a variety of moral dilemmas, and their decisions about whether to act positively or negatively in each situation are highly impacted by a number of circumstances. Colbert didn't really want to know whether the person in the circumstance was morally right or wrong in each scenario he presented to the kids. Instead, he wanted to know why these kids think the character is morally right or wrong.
So these are the 6 stages of moral development, and these stages will be discussed later on. So level 1, pre-conventional morality. A child with pre-conventional morality has not yet adopted or internalized society's conventions regarding what is right or wrong, but instead focuses largely on external consequences that certain actions may bring. So judgment at this level is solely focused on the self. This line of moral reasoning is common among children, although some adults would also exhibit such behavior. The child, having no concept about society's conventions on what is right or wrong, would base its judgment mainly on the external consequences of its action. And the stage 1 of pre-conventional morality is the punishment obedience orientation. Obedience and punishment are particularly frequent in the early phases of moral development in young children, although adults are also capable of articulating this form of reasoning. People in this level, according to Kohlberg, see rules as fixed and absolute. This is also the pre-moral stage where decision and actions are determined by immediate physical consequence and not the true moral value. The overall goal at this stage is to avoid punishment. For example, I am going to study my lesson because my mom will get mad at me if I do not pass this test. And the next stage of pre-conventional morality is the reward orientation. Stage 2 reflects the what's in it for me mindset, in which right action is defined by what the individual believes is in their best interest. Stage 2 thinking demonstrates a limited interest in other people's need, primarily to the extent that they may benefit the individual's own interest. As children grow older, they begin to see that there is actually room for negotiation because other people have their own goals to meet and wants that must be satisfied too. Children learn to behave in manner based on the principle what's in it for me. For example, an older child might reason, if I get good grades, mom and dad will buy me a new smartphone, so I'm going to do my homework. That is one of the example of reward orientation. So for the level 2 of moral development is the conventional morality, adolescence, young adulthood. The adoption of social convention concerning right and evil characterizes conventional morality, which is the second stage of moral development. We begin to internalize the moral standards of preferred adult role models at the ordinary level. This level of moral reasoning is typical of adolescents and adults. Conventional morality is to reason in a conventional, something that is generally accepted manner. It is accepting the rules and standards of one's group. This means decisions and morality of his or her actions are based on the society's views and expectations. The focus on this level is the significant others, or what is also called tyranny of the day. For example, they say this, or they say that, or they say I should. So for the stage 3 of conventional morality is the good boy, good girl orientation. Individuals at this stage of moral reasoning will try to win the approval of others so that their identity is perceived as good. Acceptance of the individual by a peer group has a huge impact in terms of what actions are considered good or bad. People want their relationships to be characterized by respect and gratitude. At this stage, the child tries to seek approval from other people by living up to their expectations. He or she also now understands the concept of loyalty, trust, and gratitude, as well as become interested in motives and intentions behind a particular decision or action. For example, children understand and live by the golden rule. So let's proceed to the stage 4, the authority orientation. At stage 4, the focus shifts from individual needs to the requirements of society as a whole. This stage of moral reasoning is driven by a desire to live in a functional society. Laws, rules, and conventions become extremely important if society is to maintain a functioning society. By this time, individuals have reached adulthood and they usually consider society as a whole when making judgment. The focus at this stage is following the rules, maintaining law and order, doing one's duty, and respecting authority. For example, when someone violates the law, it is morally wrong. Culpability is therefore a significant factor in this stage because it separates what is bad from what is good. And for the last level is the post-conventional, the third stage of moral development, and is characterized by an individual's understanding of universal ethical principle. These are abstract and ill-defined but might include the preservation of life at all costs and the importance of human dignity. This is also known as the principled level. It is marked by a growing realization that people are unique and are an independent part of the society. Therefore, the individual's own perspective is more significant over what the rest of the society thinks, and that this would sometimes lead to disobeying the law to follow personal principle. At this level, a person does not see rules and laws as absolute or beyond question, but a changeable mechanism. Kohlberg asserted that post-conventional individuals view rules and laws to be important in maintaining peace and order, but it only serves as guide that needs to be weighed against personal principles and beliefs to uphold one's human right. And for the stage 5 of post-conventional is the social contract orientation. At this point, it is acknowledged that various people have different perspectives and values which should be accepted impartially. Contracts are taught to enable both individuals and society to improve their well-being. As a result, it's referred to as a contractual perspectives. the right to life and the right to choose become more vital, and some fundamental ideas such as the right to life and the right to choose are protected, because others do not have the moral power to judge an individual's behavior. No single decision is recognized as right or absolute at this point. This stage means the individual is aware that much of what is considered to be moral or good is mainly based on personal beliefs as well as on the social group they belong, and only a very few of the known fundamental values are actually universal. The person at this level understands that the world holds different opinions, right, and values. Thus, different views should be mutually respected. Laws are also regarded as a matter, a social contract with one's fellow human beings, in order to promote universal values and that decisions are made for the greater good for the most number of people. The best example for this level is the democratic form of government. And for the last stage of conventional, which is the stage 6 ethical orientation. At this point, moral reasoning is founded on abstract reasoning. Conscience is seen as a critical aspect in moral decision making. Mutual respect is held in high regard as a global value. Laws are only considered valid if they support the principle of justice. As a result, people are ob- obligated to disobey an unjust law rather than being met with conditions. Decisions are met categorically and unconditionally. At this point, social contract takes a clear backseat and the person makes a personal commitment to uphold universal principle of equal rights and respect. At this stage, an individual already has a principled conscience and will follow universal ethical principle regardless of what the law or the rules say. Judgment here is based on abstract reasoning such as being able to put oneself in others people's shoe.